What happened when a single question from a reporter brought an entire room to a standstill? It wasn't the kind of question you'd expect during a press briefing. This wasn't about policies or budgets or national issues. No, this was different. This was personal. And the way Karoline Levitt responded left everyone speechless. It started, as any press briefing would. Karoline stood at the podium, calm and composed, addressing the reporters with clarity and confidence. Questions were asked, answers were given. Typical, predictable. But then, just as it seemed the briefing was winding down, a reporter raised his hand, his question dripping with sarcasm, shattered the routine. "No cross today?" he asked loudly, his smirk barely concealed. "I guess the faith was just a prop." The room froze. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Fingers hovered above keyboards. You could almost hear the collective intake of breath as dozens of eyes turned to Karoline, waiting for her reaction. The atmosphere was heavy, tense, as though everyone knew a line had just been crossed. Karoline stood there, the faintest pause before she spoke. "Next question, please." "It's irrelevant," she said calmly, her tone unwavering. But the reporter wasn't finished. "Irrelevant?" He pressed louder this time, as if daring her to engage. "I think it's pretty relevant. Looks to me like your faith was just for show all along." The gasp was audible, this time sharp and quick, as the weight of his accusation hit the room. Whispers began to ripple through the crowd, faint but undeniable, like tiny cracks forming in glass. The reporter's words hung in the air, heavy and cruel. But Karoline didn't flinch. She didn't raise her voice or react impulsively. She simply stood there, steady, letting the moment settle. Before she spoke, her gaze never leaving his. "Yesterday," she began, her voice calm but firm, "one of your colleagues suggested that I take off the cross I wear around my neck. He said it might be seen as political, might distract from the issues we're here to discuss. I told him, as I'll tell you now, that the cross I wear is not a political statement. It's not for anyone else's APPR approval. It's an expression of my love for Jesus Christ. It's personal. It's sacred." The whispers faded as her words, laced with sincerity, drew the room to silence. Suddenly, no one was typing, no one was looking around. All eyes were locked on her, captivated by the calm power of her voice, and the energy shifted. People were no longer waiting for a fight. They were waiting for what would come next. "I didn't wear it today," she continued, her voice steady, yet filled with emotion. "Not because my faith changed, not because it wavered, but because I wanted to show you and everyone who might be watching that faith is not something you wear. It's not about a piece of jewelry. It's about how you live. It's about love. It's about truth. And what's truly disgusting," she added, her voice unwavering, "is you mocking that." The room was so silent, now you could have heard a pin drop. One by one, reporters lowered their pens, their laptops, their cameras, until it seemed as if every single person was holding their breath. Even the reporter in question had fallen silent, his smug expression replaced by something that looked almost like regret. But Karoline wasn't done. "Faith," she said, addressing the entire room, now her voice rising just slightly, "isn't about symbols. It's not about impressing anyone. It's about how you carry yourself, the choices you make, the way you treat other people. And it certainly isn't something up for debate." In a press briefing, her gaze swept across the room, holding attention like a magnet. "You see, my faith doesn't live in a cross around my neck. It lives here," she said, touching above her heart. "It lives in the compassion I have for others, in the integrity I strive to maintain, in the truth I choose to speak, even when it's inconvenient. A necklace is a reminder, yes, something deeply meaningful to me, but it is not the essence of who I am or what I believe." The room was suspended in silence, her words hitting with the force of a hammer. No one dared look away. Even those who might have come in with criticism or doubt wore expressions of quiet reflection. Karoline's conviction was unshakable, her voice unyielding, and as she spoke you could feel the tide beginning to turn. "What saddens me," she continued, her voice softening, "but no less powerful, is that we live in a time where faith in any form is so misunderstood, so quickly mocked, and I feel sorry for those who choose to tear it down. Because they've missed the point entirely. Faith isn't loud. It doesn't demand to be seen or celebrated or approved of by others. It quietly sustains you. It gives you peace when everything around you is chaos. And it gives you strength when people try their hardest to take it from you for a brief moment." She was quiet, letting the gravity of her words settle. Then she turned back to the reporter, who had started it all. "You mocked something sacred to me. Something deeply personal," she said, her tone now serious but devoid of malice. "And yet you haven't shaken me. My faith remains as strong as it was yesterday, as it was the day before, and as it will be tomorrow, because my faith isn't built on your perceptions, it's built on love. And I would encourage you to reflect on what you build your actions on. Words can tear down, or they can lift up. You chose the former today. But it's never too late to choose differently." She took a step back, her eyes scanning the room one last time. "Shall we move on to the next question?" she asked, her composure flawless. What followed was something unprecedented. It wasn't chaos, nor was it outrage. It was quiet admiration, There were no follow-up accusations, no smug comments, no attempts to twist her words. The room, filled with seasoned reporters, who weren't easily impressed, seemed almost in awe. The ripple effect of that moment didn't stop at the briefing room. It spread, reaching everyone who heard her story. Because in a world where words are often used as weapons, Karoline Leavitt had reminded everyone of their power to teach, to inspire, and to unite even in the face of criticism, and that's the lesson her story leaves behind. True faith isn't about winning arguments or silencing critics. It's about standing firm in your values, speaking your truth with grace, and showing the world that what's in your heart will always matter more than what's around your neck.